A dangerous storm system is coming to the United States this week with the potential for significant severe weather, and that could include strong damaging winds, large to very large hail, and tornadoes. Again, I do have a cold, so bear with me through the video. I definitely appreciate it. If you do like it, subscribe to the channel. We do daily weather forecasts here. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, family member on social media. And of course, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, jot them down in the comment section below. Looking here at a moderate risk of severe weather in southwestern portions of Kansas and northwestern Oklahoma today. That is a 4 out of 5 on the risk scale. The higher the number, the higher the risk for severe weather. So a 4 out of 5 is pretty significant. We also have an orange area from eastern Colorado through much of Kansas and into northern Oklahoma. That is a 3 out of 5 on the risk scale. That is an enhanced risk, which is still pretty significant as well. The main threat here is going to be for some widespread hurricane force wind gusts in excess of 80 miles per hour across the front range of eastern Colorado through portions of Kansas into the northern part of the Sooner State of Oklahoma and parts of northeastern Texas Panhandle. So if you live anywhere in this vicinity, including Dodge City, Wichita, down into the Oklahoma City area, into Tulsa, Woodward, Oklahoma, you need to be on high alert for the widespread threat for damaging winds. In addition to that, we could be seeing large and even very large hailstones. Where you see it blacked out here, that's where hailstones could be up to golf ball and baseball size as we head through the rest of the day and into this evening. And then there is a formidable tornado threat in the brown. That's a 5% chance. In the green, that is a 2%. So big cities of Kansas City, Topeka, Wichita, all the way back to Dodge City there, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and just north of Amarillo, you need to be on high alert for some tornadoes. There is also a small tornado risk over here in eastern Virginia and Maryland. Washington, D.C., you are in the crosshairs for at least a low chance of tornadoes heading through the afternoon. Let's look here at the main risk of severe weather. No surprise here at all. There's a lot of instability, over 4,000 joules per kilogram here. That is plenty of storm energy to get these storms to not only rotate and produce tornadoes, but produce a lot of wind and hail energy as well as they push across the central plains. So here we go at noon, and we already have some showers and storms ongoing. So the severe weather risk is already underway here at noon. And then as we go to the 3 o'clock hour, it's starting to become a little bit more unstable, and we're going to start to see stronger storms develop here, first in central Kansas and western Kansas, and then sweeping eastward into eastern Kansas and western Missouri. Widespread wind damage, right? Winds could be over 80 miles per hour with localized 100 mile per hour wind gusts here. Large hail could be up to baseball size at the largest, and some tornadoes. And as we go into the evening, you really start to see a couple rounds of pretty intense lines of storms with some embedded rotation along the leading edge, moving through Kansas and into northern Oklahoma here. And then as it pushes into southwest Missouri, it will be on a weakening trend, although there could be some pretty strong storms after midnight, getting into areas, say, like Joplin and Springfield, maybe taking a run at Branson, Missouri, for example, Tulsa, Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Arkansas. You also have to be on high alert after midnight, and then those storms will continue to weaken as they push toward the Mississippi River. Looking at the rainfall threat, talking about 2 to 5 inches worth of rain. So not only will they be efficient in producing severe weather, also going to be efficient rainmakers here. Localized flash flooding going to be a concern for southeastern Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, and southwest Missouri heading through the morning hours there on Wednesday. Further to the east, let's backtrack here to this afternoon, and we are talking about some isolated to widely scattered thunderstorms. 1 or 2 of these could be severe in eastern Virginia and Maryland, and maybe even Delaware as we go into the afternoon, as an impulse of energy pushes in from the west, from the Ohio Valley into the mid-Atlantic. It could spark some thunderstorms and produce even some locally heavy downpours. So be on guard for that. Make sure you have an umbrella handy if you are heading home from work later on this afternoon and evening into the mid-Atlantic region, such as Washington, D.C. Main storm system and cold front pushes east as we go into tomorrow on Wednesday, June 18th. An enhanced risk of severe weather from Grand Rapids Rapids into the Toledo area, Fort Wayne down into Indianapolis, Carbondale and Mount Vernon, Illinois, all the way back down here just south of St. Louis into southeast Missouri. 3 out of 5 on the risk scale here, so an enhanced risk with a large slight risk from the Red River Valley of North Texas and southern Oklahoma, all the way up into central portions of Michigan and as far east as eastern Ohio. So a large chunk of real estate of severe weather tomorrow. Main risk again, damaging winds 60 to 70 miles per hour. A secondary threat for some quarter or even $half size hail here, and another formidable tornado risk. The Storm Prediction Center has already highlighted that this area could get upgraded in later outlooks to higher probabilities for tornadoes, which would include a 10% probability. So that is something we'll watch in big cities like Chicago, Terre Haute over here into Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, and Detroit, all the way over to Toledo, and even as far south as St. Louis as we go through the day on Wednesday. So here we go Wednesday morning, ongoing storm activity, kind of messy here Wednesday morning from ongoing storms from overnight tonight, lingering into tomorrow morning. As we go through the morning hours, we're going to see an impulse of energy. This is called an MCV. This is a mesoscale convective vortex. It's kind of on a mesoscale, right? It's smaller than a low pressure system overall, because a low pressure system is on a global scale. This is on a mesoscale, so it's a smaller environment, but you get the idea. Thunderstorms are going to really start to invigorate across Illinois and the Illinois Valley, eastward into Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, and then stretching back into Arkansas and Missouri as we go into the afternoon. Not everybody will see severe weather, make no mistake about it, but there will be severe storms out there, so make sure you have multiple ways to receive severe weather watches and warnings as we go through Wednesday afternoon and evening, especially with the peak intensity of the storms. Thursday, June 19th, slight risk of severe weather from the northeast down here into the mid-Atlantic, as far south as North Carolina here in the Raleigh area, New York City, Philly, Baltimore, all the way up to Albany, New York here, and even to the Montpelier area up there into the northeast. We also are monitoring the upper Midwest for a low-end marginal risk. This is a 1 out of 5 on the risk scale, back into the Bismarck area, Fargo, Des Moines, Minneapolis, Green Bay, and Madison, all the way up to Rockford, Illinois. We're keeping an eye on that for Thursday. And so far on Friday, on June 20th, and the first day of summer, we do not have severe weather highlighted here. The Storm Prediction Center is not confident enough, but I do think we're at least going to see a marginal risk as we go into the end of the week. So here we go on Thursday. That cold frontal boundary is going to be pushing to the east. That'll bring some severe weather to the eastern United States. Low pressure up here in southern Quebec. That's where we're going to see some steadier rains as we go into Thursday. Friday, we're going to see some northwest flow reestablish across the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. That could bring a couple rounds of some storms up there from the eastern Dakotas into Minnesota. This could be another mesoscale convective system. These tend to produce more damaging winds and hail versus tornadoes, but there still could be a few tornadoes on the radar up there into Minnesota as we go into Friday. Now, big talk for the weekend is a big time ridge across the eastern United States, and this is going to really start to lift further north, even into the upper Great Lakes region. And notice the jet stream here over top. The apex of that ridge is going to be well up into southern and southeastern Canada. That is where the storm track will be as we go into the late weekend and early next week. And a lot of storm energy really building as soon as on Friday, 6,000 to 7,000 joules per kilogram, almost unheard of here into the Midwest, with the corn sweat out there enhancing that instability on Saturday as well. And then on Sunday, look at the instability, how far north it goes into the provinces of Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec and the upper Great Lakes region. And that tells me that the instability gradient being that far north, that's where the storm track will be for the weekend. So as we bake in the heat down here across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and East Coast, it's going to be a lot stormier up here in southern Canada. So here we go on Saturday. Remnant mesoscale convective system up in northern Wisconsin, crossing through areas, say Marquette, Michigan, right in the upper peninsula of Michigan. And then we're just going to see that storm track through the weekend up and over top of that ridge. But eventually, early next week, that ridge will break down and a cold front will come out of it from the northwest. And this could spark some more severe weather to end the month of June and end the week next week across the upper Midwest into the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes. What day way that happens is very uncertain right now. We'll keep you updated here. It all depends on the mesoscale details, which aren't really known until about 24 to 48 hours ahead of time. But the ensemble data is really just hard-pressed on showing a well above normal precipitation across the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes region. So if you're up here, stormy conditions are on a daily basis here. Now, there will be plenty of dry hours, don't get me wrong, but there will be some wet hours. And when the wet hours do come, they could produce some pretty heavy rainfall and some severe weather. Now, this ridge is going to be a big deal for temperatures as it builds through the weekend, really starting to anchor across the eastern and central U.S. by early next week, peaking on Monday, June 23rd, before it kind of flattens out by the middle of next week. That's, as we talked about, the ridge will eventually break down. Here are our temperatures this afternoon. We're in the triple digits into portions of the desert Southwest, southern plains, as you would expect here in the middle of June. And we're talking 100 degrees in Amarillo, 104 in Lubbock. We're seeing record highs here in New Mexico, 109 in southeast New Mexico, 110 in Phoenix. And that'll just continue as we go into tomorrow, 112 in Phoenix, potentially pushing 123 in the Death Valley region, a lot of 90s in the deep south here. And then as we go into Thursday, here comes the return flow and that ridge, and we're going to see 90s in the central and southern plains, eventually spreading into the 100s into Nebraska, eastern Colorado and Kansas on Friday. And just in time for the start of summer, we're going to be seeing widespread mid-90s up into the Midwest, Des Moines, Omaha, Chicago, into Milwaukee. And then eventually, as we go into the weekend, that will spread in tandem further to the east into the mid-Atlantic, and widespread record highs from Ohio all the way to Maine as we go into early next week on Monday as that ridge really deepens. So if you're in New York City, if you're in Philly, those big cities, it's going to get hot as we go into early next week. Then looking here at the tropics in the East Pacific Ocean, the National Hurricane Center has highlighted an area and track for Tropical Storm Eric. This is with maximum sustained winds of 45 miles per hour. It's moving west-northwest at 9 miles per hour, likely to become a Cat 1 hurricane as we go into tomorrow morning briefly. And there are actual hurricane warnings up for southern Mexico right now, as well as tropical storm warnings as a formidable tropical system is coming. So we're tracking Eric here. It's going to pull in a lot of moisture, so some flash flooding risks is also going to come out of this here, and that's going to be the big highlight here in southern Mexico. So if you know anybody down here, make sure to give them a call and tell them and heads up that Thursday into Friday could be rough down here as far as flooding in a hydrological standpoint here goes. And then it will start to weaken out as it pushes back across western Mexico, but still producing some heavy rains this upcoming weekend. Now, in addition to that, we can see, so like I said, heavy rain, up to a foot of rain could fall here. But in addition to that, the Atlantic side at least is quiet. So the entire Atlantic basin, the Gulf, the Caribbean, and everywhere in the Atlantic in the next 7 days, the National Hurricane Center and myself agree that no tropical activity is expected. Now, just to give you a little tidbit here, here's the rip current risk for today. So if you're heading out to any beaches across the southeast or the east coast, New York City and Long Island, all the way down the Carolina coast here into the east coast of Florida, rip current risk in yellow is low, and in the red there off the North Carolina coast of Wilmington is a moderate rip current risk. Same thing over there in California outside of Los Angeles. So if you know anybody that lives in those areas that are heading out to the beaches, just be wary of the rip current risk as we go through the afternoon. Rip currents can be very dangerous. So I want everybody to be safe out there and enjoy their time at the beach. So thank you everybody for joining. I do appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel for the latest daily updates here that I provide to you. Like the video, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It goes a long way in helping out to get more and more people engaged in weather and this vital information passed along to as many people as possible. Also, share it with a friend, family member on social media. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, don't hesitate. Jot them down in the comment section down below. We're here for you all day, 24/7, so make sure you do that. Thank you all for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day out there.